the top 10 real celebrities in history who made a deal with Satan. Coming in at number 10 is Travis Scott. On November 5th, 2021, 8 people died and hundreds more were injured in a deadly crowd surge at Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival at NRG Park in Houston. Despite calls to stop the show as fans struggled with the growing audience, Travis continued performing for a reported 37 minutes after the festival had been declared a mass casualty incident. Now, some people think this happened on purpose as Travis made a deal with the devil. Online theories about the event went crazy. People have said the stage was shaped like an inverted cross leading to a portal to hell, which they believe was represented by the arc-shaped set on stage. They also pointed to a shirt Travis wore at the show that depicts human figures walking through a door and emerging with what looked like horns as further evidence that Travis was leading fans to hell and sacrificing people's lives intentionally for his part of the deal. If you don't believe that there was nothing demonic about that whole concert, you are spiritually blind, and I pray that God opens your eyes, said a man in a post on TikTok. Other signs people have pointed to online include 8 pyrotechnic flames along the front of the stage representing the 8 initial victims of that night, and a stage backdrop that said "See ya on the other side." It's very sad that 8 people lost their lives, but could it have been planned? I don't know. Number 9. Giuseppe Tartini. An Italian violinist claimed the devil appeared to him in a dream and played for him the most incredible piece of music he had ever heard. Here is how he described the experience. "One night in the year 1713, I dreamed I had made a pact with the devil for my soul. Everything went as I wished. My new servant anticipated my every desire. Among other things, I gave him my violin to see if he could play. How great was my astonishment on hearing a sonata so wonderful and so beautiful, played with such great art and intelligence as I had never even conceived in my boldest flights of fantasy." Upon waking, Giuseppe tried to recreate it, and that became his magnum opus, known as the Devil's Trill Sonata. Number 8. Led Zeppelin. The rock and roll genre has long been rumored to be under demonic influence, so it's no shock that one of the most successful rock bands in history has been rumored to make deals with the devil. Guitarist Jimmy Page, known as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, stated, "My interest in the occult started when I was 15. I do not worship the devil, but magic does intrigue me, magic of all kinds." Though Jimmy denies any demonic involvement of his own, he seems to believe that Zeppelin frontman Robert Plant was visited by a possibly satanic power when he created their beloved track Stairway to Heaven. In an interview, Jimmy said, "Robert was sitting in the corner, or rather leaning against the wall. As I was routining the rest of the band with this idea and this piece, he was just writing. And all of a sudden he got up and started singing, along with another run through, and he must have had 80% of the words there." Robert corroborated Jimmy's account. "My hand was writing out words. There's a lady is sure, all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven. I just sat there and looked at them and almost leapt out of my seat." Now, maybe the fact that Robert didn't actually write the words to Stairway explains why fans have discovered satanic messages when playing the album backwards. For example, "Oh, here's to my sweet Satan, the one whose little path made me sad, whose power is Satan. He'll give those with him 666, and all those fools who made us suffer, sad Satan." Now, can you accidentally make a deal with the devil? Because it seems like they might have. Number 7. Johann Georg Faust. This 16th century German astrologer and alchemist was an intelligent and successful man, but this wasn't enough for him. He wanted supreme power and knowledge and called upon the devil to provide him with it in return for his soul. For 16 years he enjoyed his newfound power before he attempted to back out of the agreement. However, the devil convinced him to renew the pact, knowing that upon his death, Johann's soul would reside for eternity in hell. After 24 long years, the devil announced to Johann that his death was approaching. A huge explosion was heard from Johann's room that night, which was believed to be the act of Satan reclaiming his soul. The only thing remaining from the eruption was bits and pieces of Johann's body, and that's why you don't make a deal with the devil, kids. Number 6. Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons was born just a few years after the Wright brothers flew the first airplane, and he grew up reading sci-fi stories about rocket ships taking people to space. He then tried to summon the devil when he was just 13 years old because he planned to sell his soul in exchange for a real-life rocket ship. Kids, Am I right? Now, it didn't actually work, of course, but he continued to study science as he grew older and tried to create a rocket engine that was powerful enough to go through Earth's atmosphere. In his 20s, he got involved with Aleister Crowley and his occult teachings, which some people consider to be satanic. Jack attempted a huge spell called the Babylon Working, where he tried to summon a goddess named Babylon that would help men get to the moon someday. Now, technically, it worked. He succeeded in inventing jet fuel that's used by NASA today. So did he actually sell his soul to the devil when he offered it up at 13? And that is the actual reason why he succeeded and changed life as we know it? Well, that all depends on what you believe. Number 5. Ozzy Osbourne. Black Sabbath frontman Ozzy Osbourne is so notorious for his connections to the occult that his nickname, Ozzy Prince of Darkness, was even made the name of his solo studio album. His personal connection to the devil is well documented, as he has been open about it throughout his career. In a 1984 issue of Hit Parader, Ozzy said, "I really wish I knew why I've done some of the things I've done over the years. Sometimes I think I've been possessed by some outside spirit. A few years ago, I was convinced of that. I thought I truly was possessed by the devil. I remember sitting through The Exorcist a dozen of times, saying to myself, yeah, I can relate to that." In another issue, he stated, "I don't know if I'm a medium for some outside source. Whatever it is, frankly, I hope it's not what I think, Satan." Now, he also practically admitted that he made a deal himself, saying, "I already have. Well, you sell your soul to the devil when you do something yourself that you shouldn't, and I already have. I've effing lived my life to the fullest. If there's an afterlife, I've got a good effing spot in the furnace, you know?" Number 4. Johann Christoph Hasemann. Born in 1651 or 52, Johann Christoph Hasemann was a painter who allegedly sold his soul to the devil after the death of one of his parents. In exchange for relief from poverty and depression, Johann agreed to be the earthly son of the devil for 9 years. Afterwards, his body and soul would pass into the devil's hands. Johann claimed that he signed 2 documents confirming the pact, one penned with ink and the other in his own blood. As the due date approached, the painter grew worried. In 1677, he sought help from a Catholic priest who performed an exorcism on the young man. The ritual soothed his troubled mind as he had a vision in which he successfully retrieved the pact penned in blood. Soon after, Johann sought to annul the ink-written contract. He secured a second exorcism in 1678, which succeeded in calming his nerves again. He continued to paint after the exorcisms, creating several pieces that depicted his encounters with the devil. Such works illustrated in his journals described his visions. Toward the end of his life, Johann joined the Brothers Hospitallers of St. John of God. He died in 1700. It's said that he was frequently visited by the devil and other demonic beings who tried to tempt him away from his newfound life of devotion. Number 3. Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. In the 1500s, Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa was a scholar who devoted his life to writing about the occult. In his books, he mentioned the devil a lot and breaks down exactly how witches perform magic spells. You may be wondering how exactly he got all this information. Well, he claimed when he was a young man, he gave in to the temptations of the devil and learned how to perform magic by following around groups of witches. Then he apparently found Jesus and managed to save his own soul. He wrote his books in order to teach others to keep the devil at bay. During his lifetime, he published 8 huge books about the occult. Even though he was so public about being friends with the devil, he was never put to death for witchcraft. Perhaps he was seen as publishing such valuable information on how to battle the devil, so they just wanted to keep him alive to learn more. While it would seem that he would have been promoting witch hunts in the church, he actually pushed for people to be more sympathetic and understanding. He wanted to help save them from the devil's grasp and have God save them through prayer rather than burning them at the stake. Number 2. Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson was an American blues musician from the early 20th century who, as legend has it, acquired his musical prowess from a midnight deal with the devil. Born in 1911, Robert grew up alongside the Mississippi Delta. As a young man, he yearned for musical greatness, and one night he took his guitar to the crossroads in hopes of conjuring dark forces. The devil appeared and took Robert's guitar, played a few songs, and then handed it back, granting the young musician complete mastery of the instrument. The story thus explained Robert's extraordinary skill. It also led to rumors that Robert's drooping eye spoke of an infernal connection, and that he turned away from his audience while performing to hide the presence of evil. Now, Robert did little to discourage these stories. If anything, he played into it with the lyrics such as, "Early this morning you knocked upon my door, and I said, 'Hello Satan, I believe it's time to go.'" In 1938, he died under mysterious circumstances at the age of 27. Some say he succumbed to syphilis, others poisoning, whereas others contend it was the devil himself collecting his due. And coming in at number 1 is Bob Dylan. In a 2004 interview, famed musician Bob Dylan cryptically explained that he owes his success to a years-old deal. When asked a rather uninteresting question of why he continued to play shows despite his massive riches and fame, he explained that he made a deal to get where I am now, and that he is a grateful man who is true to his word. Bob's response was typically surreal as he said, "It all goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it a long time ago and I'm holding up my end." He was then promptly asked who he made the deal with, to which he gave a weary smile, laughed and said, "With the chief commander of this earth and the world we can't see." Instead of taking his comments as a bit of fun or following the inference that he made a deal with God, many people believe he actually made a deal with the devil in order to become famous. These people claim that God nor Jesus make bargains, therefore the only culprit has to be the devil. In the same interview, he said, "Those early songs are almost magically written." Not to mention, in his song titled Crossroads, Bob Dylan tells the story of being at a crossroads with his soul. He falls to his knees and pleads to the Lord to help save his soul. From the lyrics, it would seem like he's referring to God, but the very last line says, "And I'm standing at the crossroads, believe I'm sinking down." Most people believe that this crossroads that's being referred to is the same place that Robert Johnson once reportedly knelt down to offer his soul to the devil in exchange for the success in his music career.